welcome back. Another Saturday, our Black Media Network. We got the Watch Dawgs again. Another Saturday at noon. Julius, how's it going?
Everything is good, my brother. What's up with you?
Well, long week, but restful weekend. It's Memorial Day weekend, and so I'm taking myself for a weekend just to be uh, not doing anything for a change.
Well, I'm supposed to be in Myrtle Beach, but that was canceled
Yeah.
because of an emergency. So I will probably, I reschedule it for July. So
Hey, and well, at least you can go out and get the adult beverages without being on the beach.
wait a minute,
But
go do what?
get your adult beverages. I don't want to say we are
Oh,
a family friendly show. But speaking of that, I'm sure a lot of people had a reason to get adult beverages for the post election, either by not getting the results they wanted, and for some who got the results they wanted. And so I guess what we're here today talk about that, and hopefully we'll have a few guests hop on. But what were your reactions from the primary Tuesday?
well, locally or statewide?
I just overall, we're gonna dive into all of that.
Uh, uh, well, some of the numbers were a little bit confusing,
Hmm.
and I hope they're not a indicator of what will take place in November. It seems like in some of the statewide races, the Republicans came out in heavy numbers. Kemp had almost a million votes, Purdue 260,000, and that's almost a million. Well, that's over a million. That's a million, 1.1 million. But the other candidates that are in the race, and lieutenant governor, they had uh, like 900,000, almost a
Hmm.
million votes. But when you talk about lieutenant governor for our side, the Democratic side, it didn't. The numbers weren't up there. So if the general was that day, then the Democrats wouldn't fare well. You know, so that's my only concern.
Yeah. And when you add in the factor that there is a third or maybe even a fourth, couple of third party candidates, we do know there's a Libertarian Party candidate on the governor's ticket. So that's going to play a factor. But I'll kind of pick up where you started off. I think one of the things that the Democrat Party has to really look at right now is how do we energize and mobilize voters? Because if what you said is correct, if those numbers held true today in general, we would lose those seats, every last one of them. What's interesting, will the party take the time to look at what's on paper? What I mean by that, we have way more voters than Republicans in Georgia. But how do you get every one of those voters out on voting day, right? And that's going to be the question. But my overall reactions were I was shocked in some races, school board in Chatham County and Georgia Lieutenant Governor on the Democratic side. I was shocked, but I expected to be win to win. Of course, I told you everybody that was Stacey's best friend almost, and then she comes out and endorses B. But that's just my overall reaction. Is what will the party do to get those voters out in November? But I guess we'll start with local elections until our guests pop in. But I think with my reaction to the local outcomes, I think most of that was expected, with the exception of the school board race on my end.
Well, the numbers still are a little telling to me because what is off is take this race. Herschel Walker had 800,000 votes. Warnock had 700,000 votes. That's 1.5 million votes. I know we were going to go back to local, but I wanted to throw
Right,
this
right. No,
in
no, I got what you're
since
saying.
we're in it. So that's 1.5 million votes that those two had.
Hmm.
Just those two. Because I think Shealy had 28,000 more, and whoever hurt Brett Black had 128,000 running against Herschel.
And mind you, Gary Black is a former state official, so
Yeah, state agriculture
that's
commissioner.
important.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
the agriculture commissioner for 30 damn years. But the numbers are way up there.
Hmm.
Now that's another indicator there. You're looking at Herschel and Gary Black with 1 million votes, but Warnock and Shealy only had 730,000. So it looks a little bad because you got to make up all those votes. You got to get people out to
Yeah.
the polls to make those votes up. But part of the problem is this: if 1.5 million people voted for Herschel Walker and Warnock, and the people on their candidate down ballot, I mean, on the same uh, for the same position.
Right.
So let's say 1.7 million people voted in that race. Why didn't 1.7 million people vote in those other races that were statewide? You know why?
Well, you and I'm going to bring up the numbers too, so we can reference them if I can.
But you know why?
What's that?
The field was so crowded with
Well, of course.
everybody on. And the second thing is, you had 100 questions to answer. People got tired of that.
Right.
So they looked for what they wanted
Right.
and they voted for who they wanted and disregarded the rest of the stuff. And some people got skipped over because it just don't add up. Because if you're running for agriculture commissioner and labor commissioner, those numbers should be right about the same. If you're running for lieutenant governor and attorney general, those numbers ought to be about the same when you add all the numbers up for the people that voted in those for those positions. And it's not. I'm talking about at all. It's not close. Some people voted in the mayor's race. I mean, the governor's race, and didn't vote in the attorney general's race.
Right.
But
Right.
when you put all these questions on here, this is a sample ballot.
Right.
You put all the questions on here. It took 15 minutes to vote. It usually take 5. But now it took 15 minutes for this, and they got to be smart. In a big election, don't put no questions on the ballot for the Democrats.
Well, it goes back what I think I said maybe last week or 2 weeks ago. And it is what it is. But Republicans are smart when it comes to this stuff. They knew that a lot of times people that usually affiliate with Democrat on the Democrat side, there's a population in that subpopulation will get fatigued and won't do all that, right? So they're smart in that regard. Republicans, when they have power, they use power. And that's another example of that. Democrats, we want to play nice. And to your point, a lot of those questions end up there because Democrats want to put a lot of these issues in the public to vote on. It's something we got to figure out, again, at the state level, because I agree. I mean, what I figured out, though, for our viewers, is when you go to check your registration status, you can find a sample ballot in that process. It's on the Georgia Secretary of State website. So you can get a sample ballot before you go so you know what you're voting on. But I agree, that was a lot going on. Some of that stuff shouldn't even been on it, like questions like legalization of marijuana. Come on, y'all. We elect y'all to make a decision. If you all can't make a decision, and some of y'all, Democrat, Republicans, and Libertarians, some of y'all need to go home.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, it was a lot. And you think about just using our elderly population. I have an elderly father who I took to vote. And by the time you get to the second issue, it's doggone time. It's lunchtime if you go at 9 o'clock. So I'm like, we got to do a better job of this. And Julius, check this out. There were some counties, I forgot which county it was, DeKalb County, where the technology was not working.
Yeah, and that's crazy. And we got to have some other kind of way to do this. It might be, I don't know. It might cost. It will cost a little bit more because if you got a paper ballot like this, and the person can go and mark all the what they want on this, and you got a Republican poll watcher and a Democratic poll watcher, and an election official to take that ballot, to verify the ID, to put it in a box that's secured, that can be scanned later. At that time, you can't let that person walk out because they have a right to vote when they show up.
Yep.
Then I've been in line 2 hours now. You telling them they can't vote? No, it has to be some kind of change. Something has to happen, Rob.
Well, I'll say this, and people are gonna laugh when I say it, but I think we need to put Chick-fil-A in charge of voting. Chick-fil-A, hey Carrie, we're talking about how you doing. We're talking
Good.
about the efficiency of voting, but I was just saying, Carrie, we need to put Chick-fil-A in charge of voting. I mean, they get people in and out of lines quickly. I think we've also got to look at better technology. Like I would say maybe if you have a long line like on a Thursday, you do your regular voting, but you have people in line with like a technology device, an iPad, and watch or make sure there's no tampering while a person votes on an iPad. We got to figure out a way to do this more efficient. I just think that again, we have people on the other side of the aisle that want to even cut back. Like I think Chatham County went from 11 drop boxes for absentee ballots to like 3. So stuff like that, we got to take a look at and make sure that people have more opportunity to vote and less distractions. Yeah, go ahead.
It's interesting that you bring that up because I in 2019 and 2020 I did research on it, expanding UACAVA, which is the absentee ballots for college students because of the issues that we had with mailing the ballot and how long it takes. And I actually wrote up a bill and I sent it to the local delegation and I sent it to quite a few different individuals. There is technology where people could vote from their phone, but people are so scared of it. But it's actually, when you look at it, it follows sort of like the crypto technology, where instead of having one central database, it has like different cluster and multiple units. So it would withstand hacking, meaning it doesn't have one central unit. So if you're trying to hack all the different sectors of the algorithm or the computer program, it would isolate it to that one area and be able to prevent a loss of numbers. But the research shows that you are correct. We need something that's more efficient. This has been introduced in Colorado and in different very liberal states, but it's cheap. So like the average ballot's $12. If we went to even for just expanding UACAVA for that program for college students who would get it, it would go from like $12 down to like between 35 to 50 cents on the dollar for a ballot. So it actually dropped the cost down and make voting more efficient in Georgia.
Wow, that would be great. Carrie, so you have a chance to answer this too.
What's up?
Yeah, so Julius and I just talked about what were your overall reactions to the statewide race and then locally.
So my first reaction was, I think that Warnock's got a heavy road in front of him and Julius corrected me yesterday because he is right. It's 200,000 ballots that Herschel Walker is ahead of Warnock.
Yeah.
So I think that's in taking consideration that if you look back on the 2020 and 2021 runoff for the numbers for Donald Trump, I think if we were able to project and look at the demographics of who voted for Herschel Walker, a significant number of those would probably be a trend that we saw then, which is a large number of conservative minority male voters. And I don't want to say just black male, because I think that a lot of people, Herschel Walker is a football icon, that he kind of resonates with men over women who are kind of probably over both when it comes to men just not treating women correctly. So right. I think that, women are over it completely. But I think we have a good argument to look at, like, what's going to happen with this race. That would be the first one that I would say. And the second thing I would say is that Stacey needs to come out of the shadows. And if she's going to win this race, she's going to have to get out to the Black Belt of Georgia. She's going to have to go to the rural communities, and she's going to have to work hard. And it's going to take more than a bus trip for her and Warnock to be able to get out the black vote and the minority vote.
Yeah, I agree. Correct. I mean, it's interesting you say that. I remember when Warnock and Ossoff were running, it was very interesting, and he really did well then with her on the sideline. With both of them in this race, I wonder. They're definitely going to pull in Ossoff. And I think they're going to maybe have to pull in maybe even Hillary, because I agree with you, CJ. I think there's a suburban white woman voter who's like, I'm not appealed by either one of these. And somewhat, I think Stacey might be a turn off to some of the black women. So, I mean, Julius, what are your thoughts?
You say she was turned off? She's turned
No, I
off.
think she's a turn off to some black women right now for a variety of reasons in that subcategory wise. She does come off as this very elite person, and some people don't like that. On the one hand, she's also not gravitating and centering herself with black female issues. That's a problem. So there's certain things that she's not showing this time that she's shown before.
Well, they had a very, very, very aggressive voter registration campaign for the last 3 years. Kerry has been part of that, and Kerry and Jay and Jerome Irvin with APRI, Black Voters Matters, People's Agendas, 9 to 5, all those groups have registered a lot of people. Now it's going to take a whole lot of funds to really, get the message out. It's going to take a lot of funds to have these people contacted so that they can get out to the polls. You already registered. You sort of educated them. Now you have to get them to the polls and make them understand why it's important for them to vote. And that's the next hurdle that they have to climb. They've done a lot of registration, a whole lot, a great increase in the voter rolls. After they purged them, they got those numbers back and more. But now you got to get the people out to the polls, and that's going to be the hurdle that they have to climb. And what it is that they're still nearsighted. They don't see everything that's happening in these counties. They're relying on the mayors of these counties. They're relying on people that they've always known instead of going and finding the people that are really connected. Have they contacted you, Robert?
Not yet. And as you said that, okay.
You say no.
Right.
Have they contacted you, Kerry?
No.
Okay, they ain't contacted me. We're in the trenches doing everything that we should be doing to reach people. Those people that they're contacting aren't doing what we do, so they're disconnected. They don't really know what's going on. See, they count on popularity. They count on these high-profile people who don't do the work in the field to give them that one-day endorsement. We do it every day. We in the fields every day, but they aren't contacting us. So we'll see whether it pays off for them or whether it hurts them. Now go ahead. What you were saying, Robert?
I was saying, it's interesting to me that what you just stated was true. A good number of candidates don't take the time to even sit down and talk to the voters. They come in, they do these grandstanding events, take pictures, and they're out. But what difference, what I would like to start seeing, especially with Warnock and Stacey, sit down with some of these people that you don't talk to every day. Sit down with the elderly community in Savannah or Brunswick or wherever you go. Sit down with some of the young people who are incarcerated, who were in gangs. Start listening to the issues and why the issues are the issues. I think a lot of times we see politicians gravitate to mayors and people in leadership, but they don't live and hear the voices of those who are marginalized. So I would like to see a little more of that, because you're right. They're relying on information, and that information is coming from the elite, not necessarily the people who are experiencing.
I'm gonna offer the devil's advocate viewpoint that I think is very realistic. I think that there's too much concentration on orientation, whether it's race, gender, and projected demographics. When we're talking about rural versus metropolitan, whether it's Savannah, Augusta, Albany, Atlanta, people in rural communities, they think a little bit different. Of course, I would think minorities would vote for minorities, and that could be a given, but not really. Like we're talking about people in communities that if you come to their community and you meet them, that resonates further than just having a pastor who they see every day telling them who to vote for. People are smart. They watch programs like this. They're trying to learn. They're trying to educate. The voter is more educated. They don't want to be told what to do. Right. So I think that, if you want to get to people, I think Julius always makes a really good point. You got to get out and talk to people. If you're not out working, you can't assume that they're going to vote for you.
That's true. But,
I know that's devil's advocate, and
but that's true
to say it, but I'm going to say what's not being said. I'm sorry.
No, I think you're right, because I think, and if I could, Julius, pick on Tanya, I think Tanya did a good job of that. She was out knocking on doors at grocery stores, like what Jimmy Carter did, shaking hands and saying, "Hey, I'm Jimmy. I'm this person, and I'm doing this. I need your support." And that gives you that one-on-one interaction. That honestly, Carrie, I agree. I think that goes a long way. So,
and you're right, Robert. She was out every day in the neighborhoods with nobody else. I mean, some days she took teams on weekends to cover big areas, but then on those days that she wanted to just go back to areas that she knew she had, she still wanted to touch base with those people, knock on doors, deliver stuff, because it's about that personal contact with people. That's how you win races, with that personal contact. If you're not going to start right now, if you're running in a city race, to knocking on doors and talking to people, then you shouldn't be in the race. If you're not going to start putting out those feelers and getting those endorsements, I don't know why I got that thing up in my face, then you should not be in the race. But because it takes work. And if you're not willing to do the work, then don't get in the way. I got some friends that always that are saying, why you got that person in the way, right? You got that person, because I'm gonna bust my butt to help that person. If you put somebody in the race, then be ready to help them. Don't put nobody in these races just because you heard that they okay. If you don't know them, don't put them in our way. Put somebody in the race that's gonna be able to work and go do the work. Put somebody in the race that don't mind coming to work some of these campaigns now, so they'll know what to do later on. It's about work. If you don't put the work in, you can beat anybody with a great candidate and a strong team.
But I think,
and a strong team you got to have, or you got to have a lot of money. You can build a strong team, but you need a great candidate.
And I'll say, and I think I've heard both of you all say this. I think a lot of people rely on signs. Signs do not win elections. That you can actually not have.
Hallelujah.
Huh?
I said hallelujah.
No, I mean, they're pretty. I mean, they remind people, but you got to do a little more than that. But let's break down some of these local races. I guess we'll start with school board and then go on over to some of the.
I want to say one thing before we get into these individual races that I can extrapolate from both of the things that you've said and some of the conversations that we've had outside today's broadcast, is that if you look from 2019, 2020, 2021 to this particular race, we're seeing a trend that people are voting higher on the Democratic ticket on election day. And something Tanya did, which was really smart, is she did a text message a couple of days before the actual election.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
And that's one of the things that we're incorporating into what we're going to be doing. We got different plans for these candidates, and they got to move into the 21st century. Some of these candidates think that they still need to do it the same way that they've done it 30 years ago. Those methods don't work as efficiently as the new methods. We do things in a steroid type way now. No signs don't vote, but they do influence. If you got signs with your name on it, people see that passing down that highway every day. They're going to, when they go in that poll, they remember your name. They might not be well informed and might not be as informed as we are, so they remember your name. So those signs influence, and you can count probably about 25% of it. another thing that has come into play where old people don't realize. And I'm not talking about old. I'm talking about old thinking, because I'm old. I just look young.
Conservative thinking.
Yeah, I
Conservative
just
thinking.
look young. Social media plays a big part in it. So now you got social media, you got a different way of reaching people with the three ways we just talked about. So those things play into how you win an election. We're not in this to play with it, And I have a questionnaire for candidates when they come to me. The first question is, why are you running? I don't care how great you are. What are you running for? It's a 10 questionnaire questionnaire that Charlie Brown made up. You know, and we ask the people why. These 10 questions, and then we see whether we want to back them. Now I'm gonna tell you one that slipped by because I let Charlie Brown make that decision.
You ain't gonna
And
blame
y'all
my
won't
friend Charlie
believe
now.
this. Y'all won't even believe this one. We had somebody contacted us, wanted to know whether we would work for him. Now we had an interview with him, and just 2 years ago we had an interview with him, and we sat down and talked with him at over on downtown. And Charlie Brown said, "I think he's new, he's smart, but I don't think we can help him because he's getting in too late." And I said, "Charlie, I like this guy." I said, he's a pretty smart guy. I said, he could be good. I said, I like the way that he talks. And I say, I like, it's just something about him that I like. Charlie said, "No, we're not going to take this one." Now, he's a senior guy. He taught me everything I know. So we didn't take that one. That's the honest truth. But after that was over, I contacted the guy. I went to putting up all his signs and everything. And after talking with him and having lunch with him, I said, "Man, this guy here's going to be great." That candidate was Derek Mallow. Yeah. We turned Derek Mallow down because Charlie said he got in too late.
Well, and let me say this, Drew. Let me comment on that, and then we'll go to where we're supposed to go. I think what I've noticed too, and this is the problem with Biden. It's not always the person; it's who they listen to. So I think Biden is a good leader. Biden got the wrong people around him. You got to watch who's your senior advisor, and you got to watch who you're listening to. So, for example, with my upcoming campaign, I got people who I know, like Dr. Teray, who I haven't asked yet, but he's going to do it because he's listening to the community. He's around people. That's the type of person you want to listen to. Julius and Carrie, you are the type of people you want to listen to because you take your feelings out of it and you're listening to the people around you, and you're able to filter that information in a way that makes sense. But when you got a candidate who does not want to really pay attention to who's boots to ground, you're going to have yourself in a lot of trouble. And I think Biden is a good example of that. He has some people around him who may not know the issues or who are not providing the best information to him.
Well,
I'm going to say no comment.
We can talk about Julius Hall. We won't tell him.
I'm talking about Biden. I'm saying no comment.
But he's also,
to speak on that, Robert, we have a few issues going on within our ranks right now. And I'm going to come on out and say it. I'm not going to call the names.
You're about to
of
call
it.
the name. Why you
I'm
call
not going to call the names of it, but we got
to just make sure you say allegedly, because a lot of people call names.
These are some problems that we need to address within our party.
Yeah.
You have a bunch of personal agendas, and you have a bunch of personal vendettas. You have people at odds because of people putting people in races, and everybody has a right to run. Get out your feelings about anything or anybody in any race. Everybody has a right to run if they're qualified to run. If they're breathing, they have a right to run. So, you get it isn't personal. I got every reason in the world to not like one of the candidates that's running for U.S. House 1 for the state of Georgia. Every reason in the world. But I can tell you if that particular candidate wins, I'm going to back them because it's not about me. It's
Right.
bigger than me. But you got some people won't back some people because they just won't because it's personal to them. You got to take personal out of politics. You got to have alligator hide and elephant skin in this particular arena. And if you don't have that, you shouldn't be in it. You shouldn't be in it.
Well, and I'll even add this. I think I complain about the state level and even with our local level. Yeah, there are going to be things that you don't like, but this will get me. People don't like things, don't like individuals for silly reasons, but yet I'll turn around and go to church Sunday and quote scripture and all this. But I'll leave that to itself. But you're right. If it's truly about the community, if you're a candidate or a voter and you're truly about the community, then you want to advocate and you want to do things that are best for the community, not yourself. And so when you get your feelings in it, it's about yourself. It's less about the community.
That's correct.
I think you have to look at the person who's running for the office. Are they capable? And are they someone who has proven to hold people accountable no matter if it's popular or not? Are they willing to get the job done? Can they comprehend what the job is and hold not just their peers accountable, but the administration? Will they go to bat for you?
Yeah.
Not only are they running for office, but I think the primary thing that both of you are talking about is, can they do the job?
Yeah.
Like, are you hiring? Because basically, when you're voting, you are hiring somebody to run for office. They need to be able to do the job. And if they can't, guess what? They're going to be terrible. And those 2 or 3 years that person is serving is going to be terrible. And the person and the people that they're serving are not going to get the help that they need.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I'll use this. Here's the thing. People, I think a lot of times it's difficult to separate a personal relationship, a friendship, a family relationship, whatever, from the actual politician or public leader. For example, there's a particular mayor who's a fraternity brother of mine, but I'm highly vocal and critical of their leadership. That doesn't mean I don't like the person. The person is cool with me, and I will advocate for the person all day. But the leader, we have a problem. We have a problem and issues. We have a problem with ignoring the community. We have a problem in a number of ways. But you can't, when you start mixing the two, you become very jaded in how you approach things. And so the person, I'm cool with. The leader,
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
I got a question because I think I know the answer from Julius. Do you have to like the person to vote for them?
No. I'll ask you this question. I don't think so. No, I mean, at the end of the day, it goes back to what I said. I may not like you, but if you're advocating in a way that I think will support my values and support a community that I advocate for, I'll vote for you. That doesn't mean we got to be best friends.
Julius,
What was it?
do you have to like a person to vote for them?
No. I don't. It's a lot of people I don't like. I vote for
Why are you laughing?
because they're better than the person I didn't vote for.
Right.
I don't have to like either one of the U.S. Congressional District 1 candidates, but I'm going to vote for them against Buddy Carter. I don't have to like them.
I'm laughing because Julius and I have a no-nonsense approach to, you said it a while ago, separating your feelings from doing the job. It's an analytical, objective analysis. Who is capable to get it done? You may really like somebody, but they may be terrible. And,
right.
and they get, as you said, in your feelings.
Right. And I think, too, and this is related but unrelated, there are things that people may project or perceive, but you gotta again understand it. That's like Julie said, that's a part of the game. I mean, there are days when you're like shocked by things, or I was talking with a candidate who lost this week earlier, who said there were people who I thought supported me, blah, blah, blah. I said, oh, you're not figuring that out. I said, a person can look at you all day and say, I'm gonna vote for you, da da da, and all around, going and giving money and supporting another candidate. You're gonna learn that in this game called politics, but it just goes back to, you gotta have that, what do you call it, what you say, Julius, the elephant skin, and know that a lot of days are not going to go your way, but if you're true to the work that you're trying to do, then you got to kind of navigate that. But local races, we procrastinated for a while.
Sorry.
Let's start with that's Julius. We blaming Julius. So let's go on. I guess the school board and then the state reps.
Hold on, we got a couple of oh, y'all want to take this while we
Well, go ahead and start with that. We'll come back to this.
Wanda said, I was told Stacey Abrams held a speaking engagement in Statesboro and Athens, and only 85 people showed up. The citizens need to show up. Her last election, there was over 1,000 people show up to community events. It's time to support the best candidate with our time and voice. And you're absolutely right, Wanda. People just aren't as energized and active as they and engaged as they should be. And it's going to take the party to do that. They're spending a lot of money. Spending a lot of money. And I think that they're spending some of the money in the wrong places. So we're going to see whether this comes back to bite them or not. I'm not calling any of their names.
I will.
Because they aren't paying me, but they'll pay the mainstream media. They'll pay the white media. They'll pay the white radio stations and the newspaper and the TV stations. But hell, I reach just as many people as any of them. We got 38,000 people watch us here, and I got a whole community. We run this district. So if you want this district, it's incumbent upon you to come see me. We run this district.
But I have a question. How far in advance do they let people know? Because if you don't get out the information that she's going to be in Statesboro, and the Black community is not, no one gets out to them. Like, how do they get the message?
Well, there's two things I want to speak on. One, when she came to Savannah, Stacey met with the elite, a few people. That's it. Fine, do what you want to do. But when it comes time for November, remember that. Number two, the state party, and I'm going for the head of the ship here because the head of the ship is responsible. When the state of the Democrats in Georgia stop focusing on that one seat that John Lewis held, Nikema has gotten as the party chair, we need to start doing a better job of rallying and doing bigger programs. We can't just sit and worry about John Lewis's seat and not worry about the thing that you're running. So I think the state party's got to do a better job in working on it as well.
I'm going to have Nikema's back on this one because I grew up with Nikema and Young Democrats, and I know Nikema, and I went to her husband was in my program. That they know something that you have to get out and do the grassroots organizing, and they understand that and they do that. And Stacey knows. Stacey, let's not forget, she owns 3 different organizations: Fair Fight, Fair Count, and the New Georgia Project that do great work. She could mobilize people. It's just a matter of her CEOs and directors doing their job efficiently and not procrastinating and waiting to the last minute and just going through the token white channels to get the information out.
Yeah. Like Rebecca said here, I didn't know she was running until an hour. I mean, I didn't know she was, what she said, I didn't know she was going to be here until an hour before. And that's correct. And then she had a bunch of secret meetings. She had a bunch of secret meetings with people. And there's nothing wrong with those meetings because that's the meetings that I was just talking about. You know, she should have had, and I was invited, then I was disinvited by somebody. I have no idea, but I know it was local. I was invited, and then I was disinvited. I'm not in my feelings because, hell, you need me. I don't need you. I don't need Stacey Abrams. Period. So I was invited to the meeting. I was told I was disinvited to the meeting. So it don't make no difference to me. So, those are the meetings that she has to have so that she can get outside of those people who think they have the control, who will be shown in about 18 months that they don't, that have that control. They've been shown recently with what they've been doing that they don't have that control in the elections Tuesday on. You know, they're falling apart. It's the old guard. So they're being taught a lesson, but she needs to have those meetings with those groups so that those groups can galvanize and rally the troops. Other than that, it's a lackadaisical type of engagement right now, and they got to find something to make us high energy because right now the Democratic Party is low energy.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna shift to those local races finally. We can go along a little bit longer today, but let's start. Julius, with what are you all's reactions to this school board race?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, in the school board president race, um, I can't blame Roger Moss on either Ty or Todd. Roger Moss is our problem. Roger Moss was he had a bunch of people get him. He had 200 something $1,000 that he raised, and he fooled the people. He put his picture in every household 5 or 6 times. I got mailers 5 or 6 times from Roger Moss, a black man in a suit and tie that looked like he was ready to leave. Nobody did their homework to find out who this guy is. So now we have him for 4 years. I'm sure that's all he gonna be there is 4 years. Because all his whole thing, he had no platform. You know what his whole platform was? 4 words. We can do better. That was it. He said nothing else. He said absolutely nothing else. He knew
That's a
nothing else.
brilliant plan. You can't be mad at it.
We can do better. That was it.
And a few dollars.
200 something, over $200,000 that he raised. He still got 90 something $1,000 in the bank.
You see this comment right here? When I tell you they got this thing perfectly timed, don't get mad when your public school shut down. Mark this moment I just said. Don't get mad when the resources start shifting. But anyway, Carrie, what are your thoughts?
When it comes to Roger, I think that, in politics, we often talk about 7 points of contact when it comes to business of getting the word out. I think that he dominated in the facets that Julius were talking about in terms of marketing. I also think that he got out way earlier than Ty and got a lot of the elite and got a lot of the money that probably she could have had access to. And I think that, I think that when you're thinking about running for a big race and you're coming out, I think that you have to hit the ground running. And I think that, again, going back to Tanya, she was relentless with going out and doing direct voter contact. She didn't really waste her time on, a radio, television, but she was smart in the money that she had that she could appropriate. And I think with Roger, he had a good team, and he had a lot of business-minded individuals behind him that advocated and were spokespersons for him. So getting out into channels and dominating leaders and dominating people that are influencers often lead to the trickle economics of Savannah, which is a bandwagon place, that they're going to go for the person that they kind of get told who to vote for. When it comes to, I think he operated in a top down and very grassroots, but I think Ty can learn from this and be able to be like, okay, I know what I have to do next time. I'm going to have to be relentless and do the direct voter contact. Sorry.
That's perfect. Perfect. I think Rebecca made the comment, thank goodness the district seats held up, and I agree. I think, I think Roger's not going to be the person a lot of us believe he will be. I see the motive that he's bringing, but thank goodness that the district seats can counteract all of that. But state representative between Mallow and Scott, I think both are great gentlemen. So either one. Regardless who won that race, I would have been happy. What about you all?
Same for me.
Yeah.
I voted in the Democratic primary with one key person, which was Derek Mallow.
Yeah.
I like Derek. I have a relationship with Derek as far as bills that I've written that I want him to be able to introduce. So a lot of that is thinking about self when I'm thinking about the work that I want to do. And Julius is working on a resolution and a bill that would help people who have served their time and got their rights restored be able to run and limit the 10-year mark to a 2-year mark. And I'm like, in order to get that work done, we need people who are willing to push bills. And if you look at him as a first time newbie in state house, he had a record number of bills that he passed. And if he's willing to do the work there, like I'm real excited about Derek. I like Derek. I think he's phenomenal. I'll vote for him anytime that he runs for office with the same energy.
Yep. Let's shift on over to, I think we had 3 Senate seats that impacted Chatham County, Savannah. And so that was one of those. We got Jay Jones. I think Jay did a fabulous job of just letting the work for him. And I'm going to support Jay 100,000%. And I support him then in that seat as well. What about you all? And then you got, and the only other one I'm speaking about was oh my God, Marcus Thompson. I think he was successful. Yeah. What about you, Julius? What are your thoughts?
In the Jay Jones Senate race seat, Jay had a strategy, and now he's about to implement part 2 to that strategy on seeing how he can unseat Senator Watson. And that is our objective, is to make sure that we remove these people who have been there doing absolutely nothing for our community. They need to go. So we'll see what Jay comes up with, and we all support him, and we'll see how we can move on down the road with making sure that him, Margot Barbie, Marcus Thompson, and is it anybody else that's running against in these House seats?
I can't recall.
Okay, we got Margot Barbie. We're going to beat Bill Hitchens out here. Marcus is running against Ron Stevens. Correct?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we just need to see whether we can compete effectively out here for those seats. And they'll see in a couple of days. I got a message that Ron Stevens still says he hates my guts. Hey, Ron.
Good.
I've never met you, Ron, but you can hate me all you want. I don't care.
Ron,
let me occupy that space in your head. I really don't care. You can hate me all day, but we coming for your seat.
Oh, I owe Ron. I owe you back. Ron did a commercial a couple of years ago when he ran before with the other sad campaign, and he I think he was going against Marcus and threw me and Dangle in there. So I owe you, Ron. So we're gonna support Marcus, and we're gonna give him some extra support. So,
but you know, Robert,
count your days.
But you know, Robert, but Marcus got to ask for want to get some help. We've been trying to contact
Marcus Thompson. You got all the help you need for free.
Yeah, he evidently I don't know what to do. I'm gonna stay out of that. We tried to contact him 2 or 3 times to put him on so we can see where we go at with it. But I'm not gonna help somebody that don't want the help. Marcus and I are friends. Marcus and I are friends, but we talking politics now. But you know, one of the things that needs to happen, Carrie and Robert, is that when Stacey is running, Stacey has to make sure that she carries everybody with her. If these people are going to really go out and be energized and excited about voting, she has to say, don't forget down ballot. Don't forget these people, because see, this thing, well, I just put the thing, this was a little bit confusing. You know, people looked over this. You know, you can't have 600,000 people vote for Warnock and not 695,000 for Warnock and 28,000 for Shealy. That's over 700,000 people voted in a statewide race, and they don't vote for these other people. So 700,000 votes should have been cast for these other people also. That's statewide. Attorney General and all. So that's a problem. You got to be able to bring these people. They didn't do it with Daniel Blackman. You know, Daniel Blackman shouldn't have lost. They should have carried him. They didn't. Ossoff and Warnock.
Yeah.
I think Jay is really smart. And I think that Jay is going to do what needs to be done in order to implement strategy and not be afraid to go after folks, regardless if they like him or not. He doesn't care. I don't think he's the kind of person that's going to care. He's out there for the right reasons to get the job done. He is active. And so I think that, you know, he's willing. He has what it takes to beat Ben Watson. You know, these districts, the demographics have changed. And I like what both of you say, and I ditto Cardi B. It's like, you know, you don't have to like me, but when you're saying my name, you're giving me space and you're getting me money. So
You're right. You're right. So U.S. Congressional District 1, I think we got Joyce going in a runoff against some person. I won't say the name, but I am supporting Joyce Griggs 100% in that race. And so we got a runoff. And for voters and viewers, tell your neighbors, friends, church members, the runoff is coming soon. So you got to vote in the runoff and you got to vote again in November. But Congressional District 1, what are y'all thinking?
I have something to say to all of Joyce's haters from the camp that said, why is she running again? Why can't she run?
Right.
Okay, and if you are a minority saying this, isn't that kind of a walking contradiction? So guess what? It backfired. She had the largest turnout for the Democrats. And guess what? She's probably going to take it again because it's going to continue to backfire. And if you want to know her story about how she got disbarred, ask her. Ask her. Because it is a story. It is a story of racism. So that's all I got to say. And if anybody doesn't like it, ask her because she will tell you. That's all I got to say.
She will tell you. You know, that was one of the races that I said that two people won. It's a few races that won on name recognition. Your name carry a lot of weight. Your name carries a lot of weight. Joyce has ran enough for Griggs to be in everybody's head. They don't have to see a sign for her. If they see Griggs on the ballot, they know it's Joyce Griggs, they're going to vote for her. She's ran enough. In that 5th District School Board race, Teresa has ran several times, and she's been out there. That's name recognition. If you don't do the work, name recognition will sometimes get you there also. And Herschel Walker won on name recognition. Who in their right mind would want Herschel Walker to be their state's U.S. senator? Who in their right mind?
Me.
Oh, you a University of Georgia grad.
I'm a grad. So no, I don't want him. No, he can't. Man, please, let me not. And Warnock from Savannah, so my loyalty is to Savannah first.
Yeah, so name recognition will take you a long way. It'll take you where other things can't take you. Name recognition will.
But let me say this about the Griggs campaign and to the 1st Congressional District. So all the counties and voters in 1st Congressional District, if y'all let Marjorie Greene Taylor go to Georgia to represent Georgia in Congress and Joyce Griggs don't beat Buddy Carter, all of us ought to be ashamed. All of us.
Well, you got to go out and do the work in those other areas.
I'm just saying, are we gonna be a group of people who allows Marjorie Greene Taylor to represent us, but yet we're gonna let Buddy Carter beat Joyce Griggs? We're gonna see.
I'm going to ask everybody if they want to question Joyce and how she was able to get the percentage she did. Go to her Facebook page, go to her Instagram, and look to see what she is doing. Everything that you can possibly think of that goes on, if she's there. I don't see Wade hearing it everything, but Joyce.
Yeah, Joyce goes everywhere. I ain't gonna lie. Carrie's right. Joyce being at Waynesboro, like where you just
Joyce everywhere.
Joyce goes everywhere. I don't know how she do it.
You know, I'm gonna support either one of them. Whoever wins, that's who I support.
But yeah,
That's who I'm going to vote for. Whoever wins, that's who I'm going to vote for.
So,
I'm going to support which out of those two who comes to me to bring advertisement or whoever or whatever
Joyce, take Judas a bottle of wine.
sponsorship to show us up. Hell, I got
Joyce
to
was trying
support
to
that
get
person.
him a sponsorship.
Yeah, so but I'm going to vote for whoever wins out of those two people. I'm not voting for Buddy Carter.
I'm sorry that he was him and his staff were too good to talk to me and to meet with me. They'd have a phone conversation, but they were too good to meet with me. If you're too good to meet with me now, I don't want you going to Washington, because that means that when I need something from you, you're not going to answer me, and you're going to have the staff member tell me that they're busy all the time. So
let me tell you about him, Karen. That's interesting you say that, because the same person who denied being on any ATR show, which means you deny every black member of the community, the same individual, Mr. Herring, you denied being on the show, but yet you're in Camp Park giving me a flyer. Take that same flyer and swallow it. Okay. Now, if you choke, I hope you make it to St. Joe's. But that, it interests me that they do those things. But I forgot my whole thought. So let's go to Agricultural Commissioner. I'm glad to see Nikita won. I like both of the candidates, but I think Nikita will bring a breath of fresh air to that seat.
Yeah, we interviewed Nikita right here a few months back. I don't know where she at lately, but she probably needs to get up and get back out also. That's another one of those races that bothered me also, because
Tanya, please take this paper from him.
In that particular race, she got how many votes she got? 371,000. She got 371,000. Why didn't she get the 690,000 that Warnock got? You see what I'm saying?
No,
you can't
listen. I know
this thing is too big. Take those questions off in a race like this. You're trying to take over a state. Don't put those questions on there. You can put that on some other off year. Well, this is the off year, but you got to put it in some other time. Robert, when the person talking, you got to scroll them up to the top.
What?
You saw he do me, Carrie. Isn't that rude? You just stopped the whole thought.
No. I was like, what?
Right.
Yeah. I'm talking and he got the stuff all over my face. Well, all you got to do
I'm
is
just trying to get the people's
up
comments
top.
out. I'm trying to raise your sponsorship level.
But yeah, but that's one of the races. We're proud of Nikita. She's from Savannah. She went as far as a beach, one of the two.
Probably went to Windsor.
And we're not
I
going
have a lot of questions for the Agricultural Commission. When it comes to cannabis, minority farmers, and where we go with that, because that'll be a huge opportunity for Georgia, but also like dealing with the fact that Georgia is one of the largest, our biggest, we're a huge producer for ag. So I have some specific questions for those candidates that make it to the that are making it to the general, and who I vote for in that race.
Yep. And we should have Nikita back on, Karen. We'll have you for that one, because I think she has a good way of thinking about it. She is a farmer, but I think holding them accountable is important. Labor Commissioner, because we had our own candidate from Savannah in there. I can't remember who won, but what are y'all's thoughts?
I love, hate Lester. I voted for Lester. So
I did too. I
know Lester. I know how he is. So
Mr.
I
Hall.
know Lester.
I was reading something. What was the question? I'm sorry.
Labor Commissioner.
Labor Commissioner. Mr. Bodie is, and he's running against who?
Well, I'm just saying we had our very own Senator Jackson in there, and I didn't know who. I couldn't remember who won. But
Well,
I know
Lester
who
carried this part of the state.
Well, of course, yeah,
Lester carried this part, but he couldn't carry the northern part of the state, of the
yeah.
northwest part of the state, Atlanta area, because Bodie was too strong, and he'd already sold up all the endorsements before the election. When he first announced, he had 32 of the Congress people running, endorsing him. I guess our friend Lester, he'll be in politics somewhere here in this area. We don't know where, but he will be. Um, he's a great advocate for the people. Whenever we, you know, slap inside the head, we can get him to advocate for the people. But he's a great guy, and
Yeah, he is. Yeah, it really is.
he's never let me down. I used to talk bad about Lester
But
before
he
I had.
listens. But he listens. That's important.
He listens. Exactly.
Yes,
I was talking so bad about him. He called,
that's
had
what you're supposed to
somebody
do.
else call me. The three of us met for lunch, and we've been friends ever since.
So you're gonna arrange a lunch with me, you and Lester, okay? Thank you.
I actually called him that night and told him that I voted for him, and he actually answered the phone for me. And that's like probably the first time in 2 years. But
Oh, Lester's a great guy.
Yeah.
yeah,
Great guy.
he'll answer the phone.
Yeah, we
And
want.
that's you and everybody won't do that.
No,
Yeah, we
our
congratulate
District 3
Mr. Bodie.
councilman won't do that.
Oh. They're too busy worrying about Yammer. Let me hush. Let's go to what we got. B Win. I was so proud. I knew B would win that seat. I like B. I like a lot of the candidates in that race, but I just B is very strong, very visual, and she has an advocacy leadership perspective that I think really took her across the finish line.
I got to meet with her when she came down to Savannah, and to me, she's like the OC of Georgia.
Yeah.
Like she's the OC of Georgia. I have a lot of respect for her.
But she might be in some trouble now. I mean, now you say Stacey came out and endorsed her.
Stacey's our best friend.
Right. So now you got her running against D Dawkins.
Well,
so D and Michael Owens, Floyd Griffin, John Eves. I met all four of those people. I've never met B. I saw her in the same place we were at, but I've never actually talked to her. Didn't know who she was. I saw her, and then till it was over with, and that's her little thing. I mean, she's small, real small. I thought it was somebody else, but
fix it.
I like D. I think D is more qualified for the seat. I think D has more passion to get it done and not just running because. So I like D in that particular runoff against B. Like you said, whether you like somebody, when you vote for somebody, whether you like them, I like the person that I have looked into. I met D 4 years ago when she came down here running before, and she came to the CCDC and at a candidates forum and was talking. I was very impressed with her. So,
all right.
I
voted for Floyd Griffin. Okay. Hold on, let me make sure.
You ain't gonna get no sponsor from me.
I voted for Floyd Griffin because Floyd Griffin called me and had me do work, and then that wasn't because of that. Because Floyd Griffin called me and had me do work, it was because I talked with Floyd. I talked to John. Two people on there I talked to was Floyd and John. I didn't talk to D this particular race, even though, and because I didn't even know D was in it.
Okay,
I'm telling you, I talked on everything. I didn't know D was in it until the fish fry. When she came down to the fish fry, that's the first time I knew she was in that race. And I met Michael Owens, but I was working with Floyd Griffin, and you and I had already interviewed Floyd and John Eves. on this same program, Robert. And
Mhm.
B Win, did she turn down your invitation? Did we interview B?
Yeah, B was on. We can replay B win next week.
Okay, I can't even remember. See, I'd already met B and didn't even remember. But we could get B and D on. D was on Keisha's show the other day, so she's been on our platform. So let's get B and D, B and D. Ain't that something? We get B and D and see whether we can get them.
Carrie, please stop talking because I can't take no more.
Michael Owens is a dear friend of mine. We met at the U.S. Global Leaders Coalition Summit in D.C. about 8 years ago. And I think the world of Michael. I just wish that he would have got started a little bit earlier and got out. I do appreciate him coming down to South Georgia. And I think that's huge when we actually see candidates that are statewide make that haul down here.
Okay.
All right. So then we had and we got we'll add another 20 more minutes. We got what was the next race? Let's go to the PSC races. We had Patty Duran, who was successful, but Chandra came up a little bit short against a young lady named Sheila. Interesting because Sheila comes from a perspective of the legal piece, which I think would be a good component to the Public Service Commission. But either way, I'm going to support both of those people, both Sheila and Patty Duran. What do y'all think?
That's all you've ran for that race. That's all you have to say about
Well, yeah, I mean, I've interviewed both. I've talked to Patty a lot. Patty and I have talked a lot. Chandra Fowler and I talked more than Sheila. I do need to talk with Sheila just to see what her thoughts are and do more research on her. But I think, the one thing I will say with Pat is, I don't know if you knew this, Carrie, but well, you did know this. When she announced qualified, they moved the district. She had to adjust that, and she knows a lot. She's an energy person. She's been in this work through a nonprofit, but I think she's the real deal. I don't know a lot about Sheila, but anybody to beat the Republican establishment in that area, on that particular commission, I'm all for. Yeah, y'all quiet. Did y'all vote for that?
Well, I didn't know enough about the candidates, like
yeah,
the Public Service Commission. I mean, have worked with two individuals who ran for public service. We learned a lot when we worked together in those races. So I became very familiar with those races, but I didn't hear enough. And those are two key important races where people making what, $90,000, $120,000,
$120,000 annual salary.
Right. So I feel like if you're gonna be making that much money, you need to be able to talk to me and tell me: are we talking about broadband? Are we expanding broadband? Are we getting devices in people's hands so they can access fiber optic if they do get fiber optic? Are we talking about increasing solar for middle income Georgians and people who are minority to have access to those? What are we talking here? So I have some probably key questions for those individuals. They don't just have my vote. I need to do my research.
No, I agree. And if I could, Julius, real quick, kind of bookmark that. I agree in that regard. As a matter of fact, Patty does want to come to Chatham County. And so we need to maybe start garnering support for that. I do know for a fact that Patty wants to come down to Savannah to bring that very message. We haven't had the opportunity to do that for her, but I agree with you. You got to get more information out. Sorry, Julius, I want that.
Oh, no. I was just going to take us on to the next, to my favorite candidate in the whole race. Was besides the school board District 8 was Education Superintendent Alicia Thomas Searcy.
Yeah.
She ran away with that race. She's going to be going up against Woods on the Republican side in November. So she's going to need a bunch of help. But here's another disparity. Even though it was 5 people in that particular race for that seat, she had 378,000, just 900 and some votes. So it's 379,000 votes. She had three other people in the race with her. so they took votes also. But I didn't get the numbers on the totals, but it was nowhere near what the Republican side had. And the winner of the Republican side, Woods, he had 800,000 votes. It's work to be done. We're ringing the bell and sounding the alarm right now. It is work to be done that has to be done. If you don't do it, these people are gonna clobber your butts. It's work to be done. Look at the numbers. Numbers don't lie. People do, but numbers don't lie.
Well, I think honestly, to go back to that really quick too, and when the Republicans changed the voting laws, especially around absentee voting, that impacted the dates and deadlines, and even with us, I forgot all of that. Well, I didn't forget it. I just didn't have time to prepare for absentee ballots, and we have elderly people in the family, so a lot of people didn't vote because they got caught off guard with these new rules. Again, the education piece that needs to be coming from the state level and the local levels have got to be very, very, very influential before November.
Well, I think one important thing happened in Chatham County and maybe some places I know in Gwinnett and Fulton that had high voter turnouts is that there were issues with the polling machines.
Yeah.
In a lot of key counties, and Chatham was one where 14 different polling precincts had issues, turned people away, and then people were not able to come back, or we couldn't get enough cooperation with extending the hours. And I think that definitely helps. But I think that we really, to your point, Dr. Bryant, I think that we need to be able to get people to early vote and not just rely on election day voting.
Yep. What's another race? I think a surprise for me, y'all. I'm not saying it's a bad candidate, but I didn't see this coming. Was Lieutenant Governor. So I'm familiar with Kwanzaa from his work with City Council in Atlanta. I admire Kwanzaa. I've never met him, but he does a lot of great things. But I didn't see that coming.
I voted for Kwanzaa because I thought Kwanzaa was a woman, and so I'm sorry, I didn't know Kwanzaa was a man. And I wasn't the only one. I was at Joyce's party, and a couple other women were like, "I thought that was a woman," and we voted for Kwanzaa because we thought Kwanzaa was a woman. So,
Kwanzaa has a strategy.
Yes, it is. My candidate in that race was Renita Shannon, and she came in second, I believe, behind Kwanzaa, if I'm not mistaken. But she was my candidate. But what we did show, I don't think but one person that Trump was backing in the state won, and that was Herschel. And Herschel only won because of name recognition. It had nothing to do with Trump. Well, it had to do with those 800,000 people y'all put in the stands at the stadium who brainwashed.
I ain't gonna do that. We still champions.
Y'all don't put 100,000. Y'all put 800,000.
Don't tell Alabama that. Roll Tide. But no, I think Jay Jones said this, and I think Warnock's team better watch out. They better take this seriously. With the win of that national championship, that raised a lot of the bar for Herschel. I don't think Herschel should be out senator. I don't think that's a good idea. But that's a factor that people need to think about. I don't think Warnock is taking that seriously, or his team isn't.
I have just a big warning. If anybody from Warnock's team is watching, you better watch for negative campaigning because that might backfire. Because Herschel has the kahunas, whatever.
He got the nuts to do it.
Right. Yeah. He will fire back.
Right. And not only that, and it's out there, people know it, but don't get mad at me. But the little situation with the custody battle, that needs to be wrapped up. I'll just say it like that. I think you all know what I'm talking about, but that's what I think they're gonna go with.
I hope nobody's feet are run over again.
Well, that part,
Marcus
and
said
I think they're going to go there.
Working the polls. We do need people working the polls. We got 92 of them here in Chatham County. but we need people knocking on doors. Again, that's how Stacey motivated and energized everybody before, and it has to happen again. You have to get out the vote. You have to have a strong get out the vote campaign coming up. If you don't have it, it's going to be trouble.
Yeah, that's true. So I think, did we miss any of the key races? I'm trying to think. I can't remember all of them. Tiffany, Athens, Clark County. I was somewhat involved in our campaign, but so I'm 1 and 2, I guess. But Tiffany Taylor, congratulations, Athens, Clark County Commission. I love her story. I've known Tiffany for God. Her son was 2 when I met her, and I think he's now 16. So I've been knowing Tiffany a while. She has a beautiful story of coming up and some challenging experiences, knowing the community, living in the community, in the trenches in the community, and can now go speak for the community at the planning table. I couldn't think of a better person. So congratulations to Athens, Clark County for making the right decision there.
And she's a co-host on the Rabble.
Yeah.
She's a co-host on the Rabble every Wednesday night at 7:00.
So we can now call it the Losers and Tiffany.
To what you said, it takes a lot of guts for anybody to run, but it can be really hard as a woman running for office because you're having to ask for money and to put yourself out there. And a lot of women find that very uncomfortable. So I'm always congratulate the women who get out of their comfort zone and run for office. I've done it. I've worked with women who ran for office. I give them kudos and to the men too, but really from my heart to theirs, being able to run for office. If you lost, you won. It takes a lot to get yourself out there. And Brian, Dr. Brian, you went through that process. It's a lot.
Yeah. You're like, what is going on? So what are some other things y'all want to speak on as far as the election? I know next steps, we have a runoff. So people don't forget the runoff, and then you vote again in November. And the reason we keep reiterating that is because we've got again, education is a big part of voting. It's not only knowing the dates, it's knowing to do the research on the candidates, it's knowing to use the Georgia Secretary of State's website if you need a resource where you can find if I'm registered or not, the sample ballots and all of that. So, Julius,
and if you can take the day off, even if you can only work part of the day, the Board of Elections needs competent, technologically savvy people who pay attention to training and can do the job, but also election protection. If you're looking at wanting to volunteer, you need to get involved with that because we need a person at every precinct. In Chatham County alone, we have 92 precincts. So that means we need 92 volunteers.
Yeah.
Kel coming up to get 2 waters. Oh,
everybody needs water to this. Go ahead.
One of the my mentees, he outside. We had to go take a bunch of the campaign signs up, and he was outside. He wants some water. So I'm telling the other intern to take him some water.
All right, already getting an assistant. Good thing. But Julius, one of the things I think is important that we close out with is your platform and your company did a lot of unique commercials. Talk a little bit about that and how people can get involved with that. So
all they got to do is all they have to do is contact us. We'll make those commercials for you. If you can, of course it costs. And we got the people to put those commercials together. If you looked at any of the ones for Derek Milo, we made one for Mr. Prelo, Frederick Prelo. If you want to see what type of work we can do with it, we made one for my wife's thank you. And we also made one for her campaign also. But she also did a thank you one. So y'all go back and look at it, and I could take the stuff down now. If she let me. I leave the Wolverine stuff up.
Oh Lord, the devil bear stuff.
Yeah.
Ivan is correct. Ivan mentioned the runoff of Recorder's Court judges and 5th District School Board. So,
yeah, we got
yeah.
to talk about that. Them
Oh,
two.
Lord. He about to go on the aisle about Joe Huffman.
Yeah. That's the guy. That's the guy.
Oh, congratulations to Tammy.
Oh, she ran unopposed. So,
well, still congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations. We've been congratulated her.
Right.
When nobody qualified, she was congratulated then. But yeah, in the Recorder's Court runoff, which will be June 21st, in about 20, 21, 20, 23 days, 24 days from now, you're going to have a Recorder's Court judge runoff. And of course, both of the guys are my friends. But I'm backing Joe Huffman. Rich is a swell guy, but I'm backing Joe Huffman. Y'all heard me?
I didn't hear you.
I'm backing Joe Huffman. So
I invited Sanders to the Verbalitude Hour, but he did not respond. We're required by law because we're a 501c3 with WRUU. So all three candidates were invited. Burton came on, and so did Huffman. And if Sanders wants to come on, he's welcome, but he has to return a phone call and return a message on Facebook.
And let me say this: judges are not supposed to be partisan.
No,
because they have to rule in a way that is nonpartisan.
Right.
So I would say just have a conversation with the people who you were having to weigh on who you're going to give your vote on. If you have a conversation with Joe Huffman and come away not liking him, then I think you have a problem. The guy, I'm serious. The guy,
he's very down to earth.
The guy won me over. We talked for an hour and a half. The guy won me over. Everything he said was, not against anybody. It was to do the right thing. He believes that your second chance don't have to come when you're released from prison. Your second chance can come before he sends you there. You see what I'm saying? Most people think that it's just lock them up and throw away the key. This man says, no, the judge needs to weigh whether that person is suspect in doing, has the propensity to commit the crime again. Or whether they just made a simple mistake and they need a chance. Well, where community service might fit. Or, but if the crime fits it and that person needs to go, then that he will do what needs to be done. It is law and order, but it's common sense law and order. And that's what won me over with this guy. He's a great young man. He's a veteran, ex-police officer, a lawyer, and a judge. So, what better place for this man to be than Recorder's Court of Savannah, because I believe he'll be like that judge out of Connecticut up there that is going to, oh, you can't pay it? Okay, well, we're going to see whether we can work something out. No, he ain't going to do that. But I'm saying he's just a good guy.
Well, I like when I had him on the Verbalitude Hour that he would answer any question I had. And if he couldn't answer it, he told you why. And said, I can't do that. As a conflict of interest, I can't answer that. I as a judge, I can't answer that. But if somebody wants to come and see me individually as a lawyer, then we have a different conversation. But I do like the fact that we had an educational conversation for 30 minutes on the show. I was very impressed with him. He didn't come off as a politician. He came off as somebody who was educated, and he wasn't on my show just to be running for office. He came on to just talk with the listeners.
Right. We got one more, and we only got 2 minutes.
Well, no, I just want to give a shout out to our district attorney. She's doing what she said she would do when she was elected. So Shalina Cook Jones was featured in Savannah Morning News, and they talked about her decision around how they will prosecute marijuana charges. The reason why I'm impressed with Shalina is because of this. She made the commitment that she was going to be very different in how she interpreted and adjusted the laws. This is a great example of that. Marijuana should never be, it's not a legal substance, period. It should never been a federal illegal substance. But she has taken Chatham County's position on that and said, you know what? We're going to follow the GBI standards. We're going to prosecute only felony cases, which marijuana should never be a felony case. But kudos to her for looking at that in a way that makes sense. And so I just wanted to shout out that before we closed out today.
I hate to. I just want one thing. I asked both judges about this because I've seen a trend in Georgia. There is harsh prosecution for when someone, for people of color, black, brown, whatever, are being pulled over for small offenses, and their cars are being misinterpreted through Plainview doctrine, and they're getting felony charges at astronomical rates in Georgia for being pulled over for something minor for cannabis charges. And I think that when we look back at 2021 and 2022, that we'll see a large number of black men, brown men who've been pulled over for things like following too close, which led to a felony arrest. And it shouldn't have been, because I think we're on a trend, and I think that this is an issue that we need to talk and bring consciousness to.
No, I agree. Actually, we should have Shantae Julius look at what is probable cause and what leads to probable cause. My theory is the use of marijuana as being an illegal substance creates an opportunity for probable cause that should never been in the first place. That's the whole conversation there. But Julius, what's your closing thoughts?
Well, I just want everybody to know, tune in at 6:00. Pastor Smalls, I'm sure he has something to say about this election and everything that's going on. One thing, we missed a couple of races, but Pastor Smalls did a couple of endorsements, and his endorsements actually won. You know, so you got to be able to understand. Huh?
We need another lunch with Pastor Smalls. So you got 2 lunches scheduled.
Yeah, so you know he endorsed Ann Ellen Westbrook, and she won. I mean, you know, and it was another. Well, he didn't endorse Bodie, but he had Bodie on the show. You know, you got to be able to come on these shows and talk to people if you want to do anything. We reach a lot of people, and not only when you reach those 200 or 300 that might be on watching it at one time, they're gonna tell other people that they like you. Mm-hmm. So it's word of mouth. You know, this wasn't available years ago, so a lot of people are still thinking the old-fashioned way. When I told you this is 25% of the electorate right here watching these programs. The other 25% is knocking and talking to people on them at the doors. The other 25% is having a strong candidate. And the last 25% is having a strong team or strong money. You know, they go you 100%. So it works. And that's the new formula. You can say what you want. I know what the hell I'm talking about. I do this for a living. So y'all just have a nice weekend. This is Labor. What day this is? Memorial
Day weekend. Mm-hmm.
And thank you both for the opportunity to be on today.
Well, thank you for coming. This is good.
You can come anytime you feel like you want to holler at me and Robert.
Yeah, we be by ourselves.
We'll be ready.
All right, y'all have a good weekend now. Bye.
All right.
like to